And while I will be getting back to you on the chats. So let me just revisit those of you who just popped on. I'm delighted that you could join us tonight. I'm sorry I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, so please bear with me. We'll be discussing ergonomics, and ergonomics not only for the body, like we can't often think of them, but for the mind and the spirit. And with that, we will be noticing and actually doing an experiment, an experiential, you're going to feel it. So you'll be noticing about how what you feel affects not only yourself, but those around you. And like I said, I'll be keeping you on mute, and I will be noticing in the chat box what's coming up, and I'll address that where it fits in best, okay? So many of us are stressed out, and we're ready for a change. I mean, that's why you're here. And so tonight, like I said, we will be looking at the ergonomics of it all. And let's start off with an experiment. And this experiment, I'd like you to take your hands and just grasp something like you'd be at work. Now, I don't work in a typical work environment, a corporate work environment. My job, I'm a dental hygienist. And so when I think of this grip, I think of instruments. I also think of hand pieces and polishing. So my grip is going to be a little different than yours, but I do want you just to play with this and ball your hands up in a fist, okay? And as they're in a fist, you're just working away. Maybe you're writing. Maybe think of yourself writing a proposal that you need to be putting out. And so, or grasping onto something else that you might grip with a similar, you know, like a solid grip, like you would a pencil or an instrument. And with this grip, you are working away. And then you notice that you have 10 more minutes to be finished. Now, you might have 10 minutes to finish this patient because you know that you've got another one waiting. You might have 10 more minutes to finish this proposal because you've got to do a presentation. But whatever happens, you know it's going to take you 20 minutes, but you only have 10. So notice how that tension just kind of gets a little tighter. You know, you're holding on and you're writing it by hand and you're scribbling as fast as you can, and your grip is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And then you hear someone out in the hallway. Now, you can't really understand what they are saying, but you know how you always can tell when they're talking about you? They kind of look your way, or you can hear your name. So here you are, and you're, you know, racing to get finished efficiently and carefully so that you can read your notes, and you want this patient to feel cared for. And now you hear somebody talking about you. And so not only is this tension in your hands, it's moving up your arms, and it's now in your back. Because not only are you physically doing something, you've got the stress in your head of time, and you've got the emotional drama going on around you. And notice your hands, and notice your back, and notice your arms. And what I'd like you to do now is just unfurl your fingers. So just open them up and notice how it feels a little slow, maybe a little creaky. You almost have to stretch, and I am going to invite you, anytime we stretch a muscle one way or do something one way, we really want to go another direction. So I want you to actually gently press your palms and your fingers in a little backwards motion so that your fingers are now going a different direction. And now, I'd like you to imagine that you are on a vacation that you have been planning for your whole life. I mean, this picture is of a cafe on the Mediterranean, and the sun is there, and your chair is waiting for you. And there's a waiter you can see out of the corner of your eye just waiting to take your order. You have your book. You are looking forward to some quiet time of just reading in the sun. You order a cappuccino and a biscotti, and there you are, just relaxing in the sun, getting ready to open your book, and just enjoying what you have planned for, and it's everything you dreamed of. And I'd like you to notice how your body responds. Noticing that you're feeling more relaxed. And notice the voice in your head. Oh, this is so awesome. Oh, we should have done this a long time ago. This is just so great. Why didn't I plan this, 5 years ago? I could do this forever. And notice how your mood shifts. You get a little more buoyant, get a smile on your face, a smile in your voice. Right. And you don't even have to be there to feel that way. So like I said, I take a lot of my experiences from the dental office and from my clients who are in the dental field. And this is the look on everyone's face in my office when Mrs. G is on the schedule. The shock, right? It's like, oh my goodness, she's coming in today. Now we all have a Mrs. G. And that Mrs. G may be your spouse, it may be your mother, it may be a neighbor, it may even be a friend. But what I want you to think about is, who is your Mrs. G? And I'd like you to notice how your body responds. Notice the voice in your head and notice how your mood shifts. And isn't that amazing? She doesn't even need to be in the room. Your mind can make it happen. You feel your stomach churning a little bit. Your voice is like, oh, another, why today, right? And you just feel like, oh, is it ever, the hour is like the dread, right? So our minds are so creative. So how did I turn that into this? Right. I'll tell you. I used a 3-step system. I got curious. How I opened my mind to something, a beginner's mind, like they say. Start like you've never had this situation before. So curiosity softens us. It puts us in a place of neutrality and out of the magnetizing emotion of judgment. And so I became curious and I asked the question, how can this be easy? How can this be easy? Simple open-ended question with the curiosity. And then I listened to the voice in my head that said, oh, it's never been easy before. Why is it going to start today? And you have to acknowledge, you have to listen to that voice. Otherwise, you keep pushing it down, 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 and it keeps either getting tighter in your body and causing discomfort somewhere, chronic pain, or it blows up in an emotional outburst. So we ask the 3 questions. We ask with curiosity. Stay in the emotion of curiosity. Ask the question, how can it be easy? And acknowledge, yeah, it's never been easy before. And it may never be easy again. But today, I am open to the possibility that today it can be easy. So that's what I did. I kind of, in my head, I'm smiling. I don't know, this is a crazy thought, but shoot, let's give it a go, right? I go out, there's Miss G. I call her name, she comes on back. I'm really quiet. I got my list of what she wants. You know, she doesn't want the chair back too far. She's got her demands, and she's very busy, so I know we've got a time constraint on this. We've got to get moving. And I have my list of what she likes and what she doesn't like so that I make sure that she's comfortable. And I know that when she comes in with her list of demands, it's because she herself is anxious about the visit. She herself needs to feel in control. But when she's nervous, I'm nervous, because we're talking about how that energy goes back and forth. So when I am curious, we're going to find out what happens. So I sat her down. I start working. I'm working away, not saying anything, but I'm still curious. Well, how can this, what's going to happen? She sits up to take a break, and she says, Sally, your arm must get really tired. Well, she has never said anything of acknowledgement to me except for the fact that it's all about, you know, how miserable she is and how she's different from everybody else and how busy she is. And so and that's okay. But I was blown away. She was actually noticing that maybe I'd get fatigued during the day. And so I thanked her and I said, yes, but your arm must get tired too. She's a professional violinist, but she gave it right back to me. And she said, yes, but your arm is static. And to this day, we now have our little jokes, and she and I look like the puppy on the right. She and I have our little smiles, and the ladies at the front, their jaws drop open when we joke with each other. Now, are we, you know, laughing it up in the hallway? No, not at all. But we have a subtle agreement that we appreciate each other. So how does it work? How does this actually work? And so this is the experiential exercise that I promised to share with you. So I'd like you, if it's available to you, to stand up. And we're going to do this exercise. And I want you to turn your head first to the right. And notice your range of motion. Notice how far you can look over your shoulder. Notice how your neck feels as you turn to the right. And now check in with the left and see how that feels. And just notice how that feels. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to follow me and do the same thing I'm doing. You're going to, in the video, you're going to stretch your arm up over your head and give yourself a nice torso stretch. Feel the stretch going down your arm, all your torso, and down your leg, down to your toe. And just feel that stretch, elongate that side of your body. And just notice how that feels as those muscles stretch out. And then just return to a natural standing and turn your head to the right. And how's your range of motion? You might notice that it's a little looser. You might notice that the muscles are a little less tense. And now we're going to check in with the left again, and I want you to sit. Do not move. I want you to sit down and just watch me. Don't do this, okay? I am going to stretch my left-hand side. I'm going to stretch my left-hand side, and you are just watching. You are not doing this. I am stretching my left-hand side, my arm, my torso. My leg is stretching out, 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 and I'm feeling it as it goes up and down my body. And now I'd like you to turn your head to the left. Did you notice? You have a little better range of motion. So that is the ergonomics of energy. Heart Math Institute says that our hearts promote 10 feet out in front of us, 10 feet. And that is the energy that others feel, and that is the energy that we emit. And that is the first thing they respond to. So sometimes it's just the little things that help the most. And we take them for granted. Oh, that's too easy. It will never work. But I've lived it. And it is amazing. And wouldn't it be a shame if you just didn't play with that and see how it worked for you? So we have another little twist on that. How can it be easy? And it's, what if you could have it any way you wanted? So a couple years ago, it was bitter cold. And some of you are probably experiencing that kind of winter now. The winter, the Arctic blast that they talk about, you know, it's like frigid cold, the wind is whipping, and it's 0 degrees, right? And so I had to get my dogs out. You might actually hear one chewing a bone in the background. My apologies. I've been away and she was anxious and needs to be near me. So apologies for that. I digress. So I had to get my dogs out, and it was frigid. I had my coats on, I had my hat, gloves, scarf, mittens, on top of the gloves, boots, and long johns. And I made a plan. I was going to go to 2 different parks. I was going to drive, which we normally walk, but I was going to go to 2 parks, and we were going to stay maybe 20 minutes at one and then get in the car, warm back up, and go to another one. So I was at the first park, and we were playing around, and they were having a good time, and, you know, they don't seem to notice the cold, but I was. And I was like, oh, this is insane. This is horrible. What am I doing? Why do these dogs need to get out, right? And so finally, we get back in the car. I think it was 10 minutes. We get back in the car and get the heat cranked up and drive to the next park. And on the way, it hit me. What if you could have it any way you want? Well, how would you want it? Well, I would want it to be 70 degrees and the sun shining. And I'm like, that's crazy. We're in an Arctic blast, right? How's that going to happen? But I thought, you know, it can be fun. Let's see what happens. So we get out of the car, the next park, and you have to walk across the bridge to get into the dog area. So I was walking across the bridge and looked down to make sure I wasn't going to slip on the ice. And what do I see down there? Hot hands. You know those little packets that if you squeeze them, they warm up? What do you think? I opened those bad boys up, shoved them right in my mittens, and do you think my hands were 70 degrees? Oh yeah, at least. So I had it and I was laughing. Yeah, it wasn't exactly how I had pictured it. I would have preferred it to be a little different, but do you know what? I really got what I wanted. So play with that one too. What if you could have it any way you want? Just throw it out there and see what happens. So really, simple tips, easy tips, they work. And I'd love to hear how they helped you. So please email me at yourblissfuljourney@gmail.com. And I also want to remind you that I have another webinar on new date and time. If you go through Eventbrite, it is scheduled on the 15th at 7 o'clock, but I've had to change it to the 12th, the 16th, December 16th at 8 p.m. But you can still go in through Eventbrite and you'll get the correct link for the Zoom call when you call in. So that'll be 3 tips on keeping your sanity and staying centered. So hopefully you can join me then. It's been a blast tonight, you guys. I really, really have had a good time. So let me just see if anybody has any questions. Let me just see if I can open the chat. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so that we can have a private conversation so that you're not shy about any questions that you might have. Anyone have any questions for me tonight?